Today, we are going to be talking about the lunar eclipse that will go exact at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. The maximum point of the eclipse is at 11:18 a.m. Universal Time. Let me just take a quick look. I think that's about an hour away, about an hour and 10 minutes away. So, this particular eclipse has been on my mind pretty much the whole month. I'd already kind of felt the rumblings of this in the first week of May. And I've been doing the research, looking into what it means for me as an individual, what it means for us as a collective. And I've been delving very deeply into the esoterics of this particular alignment. Now, the thing about astrology or reading the stars in any way is that the more awareness you have, the more psychic sensitivity you develop. And at the same time, the greater the need for psychic discernment and psychic defenses. Because the deeper you look at the universe looks deeper still back at you. So, I'll be summarizing some of the information that I have found, what I feel is relevant, and what I feel will actually provide some practical measure to how to best navigate this eclipse. So, eclipses occur essentially in 18-year cycles. And I believe the last time this particular eclipse happened in this Saros series, I believe it was May 2003. So, if you want to have a quick look at what you were doing then and what you are doing now, it's a good time to really reflect and see what have you been doing with your life in the past 18 years. What journeys have you been taking? What have you been deciding to do? And ultimately, what is the path of truth and knowledge that you have decided upon? Now, because this is a lunar eclipse, it is about bringing things to culmination, bringing things to fruition. And this is an energy that is all about letting go. A lot of the times, people try to stuff too much intensity, stuff too much desire, stuff too much agendas and programmings into celestial or geological events, and that ultimately backfires. But when you've got an eclipse like this, what you really want to do is keep things simple. Look at this as an opportunity to release vows and contracts and parts of truth and journeys that you began 18 years ago, especially if you are no longer that person that you were. And some of the things that some of you will be called to let go would be things that just a few years ago you would have never ever been able to conceive of letting go of. And here's the thing, the more you let go of what is false, what is no longer aligned with your path, the more you will actually find in terms of what is. And this is one of the things where spiritual seekers often shoot themselves in the foot because they're in this process of accumulation. I want this skill. I want this talent. I want this ability. I want this power. I want this title. I want this status. And that's really not what spirituality at the end of the day is about. It is about that process of consciously letting go when it's time to let go and consciously embracing when it's time to embrace. So, given that this is a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, it is about letting go of outmoded versions or understandings of truth. Now, that particular path of truth can come through a philosophy, a religion, a teacher, a particular way of seeing the world that maybe just doesn't resonate with your walk anymore. And this is what you are primarily being asked to let go of. Now, the way this manifests specifically will come down to your individual charts, not just your natal chart, your secondary progress chart, your relocated chart. Some of you like looking at draconic charts. Some of you like looking at harmonic charts. There are an endless variety of ways that you can analyze yourself through astrology, which is why I don't bother going into the details unless I'm doing an actual reading for you, at which point I'm like, if I have to. But even then, ultimately, if you listen to what your soul is saying, I mean, really sit and listen. You don't need me. You don't need any reader. You don't need any facilitator. You don't need any religion, any mantra, yantra, tantra, philosophy, practice. You don't need anything. You just need yourself and spirit. Ideally, as I have consistently said over the past few years, this is the way I see my work evolving, to help people see that astrology, like any system, is a mental crutch. And ultimately, the more we come to align with our inner compass and guidance, the less we will need that crutch. That's one of the reasons why I do the Tier 23 program. I'm actually happy when some people leave the program because they would have gotten that inner awakening to follow their own guidance. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to achieve there. So, I know it's an odd it's an odd way of doing it, but I'm not exactly the world's most normal person. But yes, so effectively, this is a huge moment for letting the shit of the mind go. And as I said, the more you let go, the more room you will actually have to spontaneously find and embrace that which is real. Now, I remember a couple of years back when I still used to do pilgrimages, I was in Cornwall and I was talking to, I think, a teenager. I was staying at this person's house because that's how I used to travel around. Oops. Haha. And that is a confirmation from my phone. And my phone confirmation says, turn off the sound. But effectively, the more we actually let go of what we think we know, the more we actually find what we are. And that's as simply as I can put it. A lot of the time, people get very challenged because they identify their spirituality and practice with this. It's really not about that. The only person who needs to do this is James McAvoy doing this as his action pose for Professor Xavier and the X-Men. That's the only person who needs to do this. That or we're stimulating an acupressure point. So, what I would encourage all of you to do is the following: be brave. Be brave in discarding what no longer aligns. If you recall from just a few days ago, or a few weeks ago at this point, I was talking about new occult law, and a lot of you got very excited about it and wanted me to teach it to you, and blah, 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 blah. To which I basically just said no. When a person is moving in frequency and in natural alignment with the way the universe is evolving, not only will they find teachers, but they will find guides and they will find people who can help them attune themselves to get rid of all of the debris. And right now, so many people have just begun to start awakening to spirituality through whatever level is appropriate for them. That actually awakening to new occult law may be a little bit too extreme for a lot of people. Because when you actually take that level of responsibility, you let go of all of the crutches. Whether it's your gods, whether it's your guides, whether it's your spells, your rituals, whether it's your ancestors, you let go of everything. And the amount of awareness and amount of inner alignment that it takes to work at that level is something that really is not just a thing that you sit under a tree and meditate for an hour a day. It's a lifestyle. So, but what you can do to slowly start attuning yourself to that frequency that is emerging is to use that phrase: let what I do be guided by and align with new occult law. That is effectively an end to old hierarchies. And I made sure I got the permission of the teacher who taught me, because I was like, okay, do I have the right to say this? Is it okay for me to do this? And only when I got a yes, which for me was a big thing, a very big deal, did I even start talking about it. So that is something that you can actually do to align yourself to the knowledge that is in the here and now. We romanticize the past. We romanticize traditions that were disassociated and disconnected from people because of colonization, because of capitalism, because of technology, because of so many different things. And here's the thing that I know is very unpopular to say, but if all of those old systems were working the way we think they did, we collectively would not be in the space that we are now, which is going to be a smack in the face for a lot of people. because they just found something, and now I'm saying, oh my God, is that not what we're about right now? And that's why I said ease into this concept. So that's point number one. Point number one is what we are letting go of and what we are allowing. Point number two is new occult law. Very, very gentle introduction into it. Point number three, be very aware of being hooked into parts of service, whether it's something that's trying to appeal to your guilt, to your grief, to cultural conditioning, whether it's this life, another dimension, what have you. But whatever it is that is trying to get you to do shit in ways that do not actually resonate with your spirit, walk away from. Because that can be one of the hardest things to do in the world. That discomfort to say no to an incursion to your autonomy, that discomfort is your growth. Because more often than not, people who are on this path tend to have come here after lifetimes of saying and allowing things to enter their field, often through some reference to the greater good. And you know what? That worked in the age of Pisces to some extent. But we are shifting into a different age. The same rules and the same logic does not apply. Any act of service that requires you to diminish yourself or to act out of alignment with who you are within is still old occult law. It is still replaying the past. And people will try to guilt trip you. God knows I have had to face that pressure in my life. People will try to guilt trip you, going, oh no, but you gotta be a nice person, and spirituality, you gotta be kind, you gotta be sweet, you gotta be this. The moment someone tries to use the spiritual language to push you in a direction that your spirit is not taking you, please do yourself a favor and run. It doesn't matter who it is. That is something that happens in every setting whenever a person can get away with it. At the end of the day, follow what is true to the you that is within. It's as simple as that. If you can honestly live every day with that principle, you will not need anybody to tell you anything, you know? But this is the thing, we allow ourselves, generally speaking, to be distracted. We are conditioned to not believe that just being that self and following your own instincts and truth is enough. We're basically told we need this external thing, we need that external thing, we need this validation, we need this anchoring, and then only will you have legitimacy. That doesn't work. That's exactly how and why people remain enslaved. They may talk the talk of the new age, but they ain't walking it. So that is a further point that I wanted to mention. Now, for those of you, yes, I know ancestor worship is a very, very big deal in certain traditions and certain systems, and people got different soul walks. I ain't going to judge that. But those of you who have tried those systems and found that something there is not working, what you can do is that you can ask, you can petition to whatever you can, basically, you want to call it God, creator, spirit, whatever your language is. You can petition for your energy to be reworked in a certain way so that you are no longer bound to the old cultural, religious, and traditional constructs that nail you to that. But this is fairly advanced stuff. Just saying it out loud does not make the difference. You must have the right frequency of access, which is why working with a facilitator who knows how to do this is imperative. Partially, that is something that naturally happens when I work with people, but I have specialists that I refer people to because, that is their bread and butter. But it tends to be I don't want to say a side effect, but a parallel effect to sessions as and when they occur. So, that's a further point that I wanted to mention. Now, I also want you to be very aware of, and this is something that I end up saying a lot because it is a real issue. I want you to be aware of just how energy is distorted and refracted in certain ways to make it appealing to a person's mind. And very often there's illusions of love, illusions of community, illusions of truth, illusions of justice, illusions of peace. Very often people are drawn into paths that they don't need to be on because something is casting the illusion of what they want to see. If you feel like something is not really what it is, no matter how convincing the person is who's selling all of this stuff to you, again, trust that inner instinct. It doesn't matter what words they use. It is the vibration of truth that you want to be looking at, and truth is rarely comfortable. If you are a sensitive, awakened, alive being in this day and age, and if you can truly feel what is happening around you, it is almost impossible for you to claim comfort because you will be aware of whatever is going on in the universe, or at least what's happening on this planet. So, truth in this day and age is not about, finding a little safe bubble or safe haven to say everything is okay now. I am apart from all of these things. Well, you picked the wrong age to be born in. Truth in this day and age is something that is more about helping us individually develop the relationship that we need with spirit. And people do that in different ways. Sometimes, if you're like me, my brother says when I pray, it sounds more like a government bureaucratic document. That is, I suppose, the fact that I've training in political science. But I was always very formal and bureaucratic to begin with in my language, even as a kid. Some people pray through dance, some people pray through music, some people pray through art. Some people, open their hearts in just different ways. You don't have to all do it in the same way. As long as your intention is clear, that is what needs to happen. We as a collective have been subjugating our true free will to larger constructs or larger ideas of being. And the longer we keep doing that, the more fucked up the planet is going to get. And only when we are willing to step away, walk away from those tools. Now, I know, I realize I've been saying the word crutches. And of course, to be fair, there is no, if a person needs crutches, because I don't want to be perpetuating ableist language, so let me find a better word for that. I just caught myself. Um, whatever tools of assistance that you need in whatever parts of your journey. If you're riding a bike, it's training wheels. If you've broken your foot somewhere, it's crutches or a wheelchair or whatever. Whatever you need at a particular time of life, use it and move on. Use it, respect it. Don't take anything for granted. Don't take anyone for granted. Pay what you are due for the services you receive, and then move to the next thing. People don't do that. They get stuck in the tool. And that's where a lot of people just end up repeating the same karmic cycles, attracting the same people into their lives, going through the same journeys again and again and again, and they wonder why. It is because up here, the mind has not yet shifted. So, this energy of this lunar eclipse is one of those things that help you do that. Now, one of the things that I also wanted to recommend, because it's funny, or maybe it's not funny if you think about it, me and my brother went off in completely separate directions in life. And we ended up independently, sometimes at the same time, sometimes just at different times, researching and working on the same things in different ways. So he is into, working with the meridian points from one perspective, and I have been conducting independent research and developing my own stuff with the meridian system, especially as it pertains to metaphysical, astral, and esoteric stuff. And of course, this has taken years of research, trial, and testing, but it's one of those things that I do. He does it in his own way, and I do it in mine. So one of the things I wanted to recommend today as a means of helping the body better align with what is happening. Now, of course, if anyone is overly sensitive, if anyone is having some severe health issues, don't try a damn thing until you have actually vetted and seen if this is actually right for you. But those of you who are familiar with TCM or any system of meridian-based knowledge, I want all of you to look at Triple Warmer 7, or Sanjiao 7 as it's also called. And literally, it is a point called the Assembly of Ancestors. Let me just see if I can quickly. No, I think the logistics would be a bit difficult to show it to you whilst I'm live on camera. But look it up, triple warmer 7. That's a very, very powerful point, which allows you to come back into that deeper state of intuition. And if you're not comfortable working with certain ancestral energies, because sometimes your ancestors suck, you can just work directly with spirit whilst working with that point. Don't overdo it, because anything that you activate in your body, especially now, will become supercharged. And whilst that sounds great, you still have a human nervous system that still has to cope with all of this stuff. So have a look, Triple Warmer 7. Just set the intention that you are, again, making choices and traveling in directions that align with new occult law and whatever it is you understand as Great Spirit. The less burden or the less complication you put on that intention, the better. At the end of the day, no matter how complex some of the psychic phenomena that exist in the universe are, the principles through which we access spirit are very, very simple. And it is that space of clarity, it is that space of simplicity that actually allows us to then engage with the much larger, nuanced, complex, and more powerful energy that we call spirit in this universe. So that is pretty much what I wanted to tell you. Just thinking in my head, is there anything else? Mm, 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 mm. Watch for excesses of emotion at this time. If you feel excessively drawn to something, if you feel like you're emotionally agitated and you're being pushed in a particular way to desire something, to do something, I want you to take a step back and look at where those emotions are coming from. Are they even yours in the first place? The thing about astrology, astronomy, any kind of system that looks at the stars is that it can tell you not only what you are within, but it can also tell you what are the external factors at play that are influencing you. And let's just say there's a lot that's hitting humanity at this time, and a lot of it tries to lure people through ambition, excessive pride. Some healthy pride is good, but excessive pride is an issue. Basically, just look at emotional states that seem to be overboard at this time and take a step back and give yourself permission to ask where that comes from before jumping in and acting upon it. But beyond that, I would say that about covers what I wanted to talk about today. Let me just have a quick look at if there are any relevant questions, I'll answer it. Let me just have a quick look at to see who's online, and then, you can carry on, carry on. So let's see who's here. Okay. Hello, Lakshmi. Hello, Flo. Hello, Tiraf. Hello, Lantern Hill Morgans and Pirate Cat. Hello, Eileen. Hello, Empath, Candy, Jackie, Jolene, VB, Sandra, Marisol, Cleo, Bump Tiggy, Meghna, Angela, Kareen, Adar, Batwoman. Oh, yes, there's thunder. There's thunder in the background. Yes, good to see all of you here. It's a good crowd. Hello, Kimberly. Nice to see you. Yeah, that's about it. So go enjoy the eclipse. Empty, empty, empty. The clearer you are inside, the more you will actually know and realize you don't even need to know. That's just how it works. That's about it. Take care. Very many blessings and cha cha for now. Bye bye.